My name is John, and if there was ever a moment that solidified my place in my family, it was the day I stumbled across the will. There was no heartfelt conversation, no family meeting where my parents sat me down to break the news. No, I found out purely by accident, through sheer dumb luck. It was 6 months ago, during a visit to my parents' house, the same house I had been helping them keep afloat for the past 7 years. Mortgage payments, grocery runs, home repairs, you name it, I was the one taking care of it. Meanwhile, my brother, Daniel, contributed absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean it in the most literal sense. No job, no responsibilities, just an endless routine of sleeping in, playing video games, and waiting for life to hand him everything on a silver platter. And my parents? They were more than happy to accommodate his lazy lifestyle. That particular day, I was helping my dad sort through some paperwork because, like always, neither of them could be bothered to figure things out on their own. He handed me a stack of documents to scan, legal and financial papers mostly, and I went through them without thinking much of it. Then, in the middle of the pile, I saw it, a folder labeled Estate Plan and Last Will and Testament. Now, I'm not one to pry, but curiosity got the better of me. After all, I had been the one keeping their heads above water. It did not seem unreasonable to wonder how things were arranged for the future. So I opened it, and that was when my stomach dropped. Everything, literally everything, was being left to Daniel. The house, the savings, every last asset. My name was nowhere in sight, except for a generic statement about how they loved both their sons equally. Yeah, right? Equally? That was a joke. Because if things were truly equal, they would not have written me out of my own parents' legacy while rewarding the one person who never lifted a finger to help them. I sat there, stunned, my hands shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. I had sacrificed so much, ensuring their bills were paid, keeping food on their table, fixing up their home whenever something needed repair. And yet, here I was finding out that, in their eyes, I was nothing more than an afterthought. And Daniel? He was not just lazy, he was entitled. He had done nothing to deserve this, yet somehow he had managed to convince them he did. Maybe it was because he was the youngest. Maybe it was because they had always coddled him. Maybe it was because he had a way of manipulating them. Whatever the reason, their decision was clear. I did not know how long I sat there, staring at that piece of paper, but eventually my dad must have noticed that I had stopped scanning documents. "Hey, John, what is taking so long?" he asked as he walked back into the room. I did not even try to hide it. I held up the will and looked him dead in the eye. "So this is how it is? Everything goes to Daniel? After everything I have done for you?" For a split second, his face went pale, but then he let out a sigh, the kind of exasperated breath you give a child throwing a tantrum. "John, it is not what you think." "Really?" I shot back. "Because it seems pretty straightforward to me. I've been paying your mortgage, buying your groceries, fixing up the house while Daniel does absolutely nothing, and yet he's the only one that matters." Dad shifted uncomfortably, but instead of offering a real explanation, all he said was, "It is complicated." That was it. No apology. No justification. Just two meaningless words and an expectant look, as if I was supposed to just accept it and keep playing my role as their personal bank. I should have left right then and there, but I wanted to hear from both of them. So I called for my mom. When she came in and saw the will in my hands, her reaction was not much better. She at least had the decency to look guilty, but what she said next made my blood boil. "John, sweetheart, you do not need the inheritance," she said softly, like she was doing me a favor. "You have a good job. You are independent. Daniel, well, he struggles. We just want to make sure he is taken care of." And that was the breaking point. They were not even trying to deny it. They had made up their minds, and, in their view, their choice was completely justified. For years, they had enabled Daniel's laziness, and now they were planning to reward it by giving him everything while I was expected to just keep carrying on, unappreciated and forgotten. I took a slow breath, clenched my jaw, and carefully set the will down on the table. "Got it," I said, my voice eerily steady. "Good to know where we stand." Then, without another word, I turned and walked out. I ignored their voices calling after me and slammed the door behind me. They had made their decision. Now, it was time for me to make mine. After that, I did not go back. No calls, no check-ins. For the first time in years. Elle with their own problems. If something broke, they could fix it themselves. If they needed groceries, they could figure it out. And when the mortgage payment came due, well, that was no longer my concern. The silence lasted about 2 weeks. At first, I'm sure they assumed I was just sulking, that I would come crawling back like always. Maybe they thought I would eventually apologize for daring to question them. But as the days passed without a word from me, and, more importantly, without financial help, I could almost feel the shift in their attitude. Then, one afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was my dad. The property taxes are due. That was it. No, hey, how are you? No apology. No acknowledgement of what had happened. Just a cold, transactional message, as if I was still just their personal cash machine. I stared at the screen, almost amused at how predictable they were. Did they really think they could just demand money like nothing had happened? That I would still play my part after they had made it clear I was disposable? I calmly typed back, I am sure Daniel will handle it, since the house is his and all. 5 minutes later, my mom called. I let go to voicemail. Then another text followed. John, please do not be like this. We need to talk. Oh, now they want to talk. Now that their bills were piling up and reality was knocking on their door? I waited an hour before replying. There is nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Now live with it. I figured that would be the end of it for the day. My message was clear, and I did not feel an ounce of guilt. But then, of course, Daniel had to weigh in. His text came in late that evening, and the moment I saw his name on my screen, I knew it was going to be something ridiculous. Sure enough, when I opened it, there it was, the same entitled attitude as always. Dude, why are you being such a drama queen? It's not a big deal. Just help them out like you always do. I actually laughed. Not a big deal. He really thought I had no right to be upset about this. I replied, nah, I think you've got it covered, being the favorite and all. Oh my God, are you seriously mad about the will? Grow up, man. And just like that, any lingering doubt I had vanished. They had all made their choice. Now, I was making mine. Now all of a sudden it was just money. That was rich. When it was theirs to give away, it was important enough to leave every last cent to Daniel. But now that they needed help, oh well, now it was just money. The hypocrisy was staggering. I fired back. So, you should have no problem using some of that money to cover the mortgage, right? Silence. That told me everything I needed to know. A few minutes later, my mother texted again, shifting straight into guilt trip mode. John, we are your parents. Family looks out for each other. After everything we did for you growing up, you were just going to abandon us. I had to take a deep breath to keep myself from flinging my phone across the room. Abandon them? I had spent years making sure they were taken care of while they coddled Daniel and rewarded his laziness. And now that they were finally feeling the weight of their own choices, I was the villain? Not this time. Not again. I replied, you made it clear I was not part of this family when you cut me out of the will. Now Daniel can step up. I could practically hear her gasp through the phone. My mother had a way of making herself the victim no matter what. A few minutes later, my father sent a message, and this one sent my temper into overdrive. John, we are not asking for much. Just enough to cover the mortgage for a few more months until we figure things out. Do not be selfish. Selfish. That word nearly made me see red. I've been holding them up for years, sacrificing my time, my money, my peace of mind, just to make their lives easier. I had done everything a good son should do, and then some. And how do they thank me? By ensuring I got absolutely nothing in return. Now, the second I decided to put myself first, suddenly I was the selfish one. I clenched my jaw, exhaled slowly, and typed back 2 simple words, not happening. Then I turned off my phone. They had made their decision. Now they could deal with the fallout. For a full day, I heard nothing. I knew they would not give up that easily, but I was not expecting what came next. The next morning, I woke up to a bank notification. A transfer request. I frowned, unlocking my phone. My mother had sent a request for $3,500, the exact amount they needed to cover their overdue mortgage. No message, no explanation, just a cold, shameless demand, as if I was still their personal ATM. I declined it instantly. Not even 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It was her. I let go to voicemail. Then came another text. John, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I took my time replying. Because it is not my responsibility. Try Daniel. Another call. Declined. Another text. John, we're going to lose the house if you do not help us. Oh, now it was an emergency? After treating me like a walking wallet for years, they were finally facing the consequences of their own actions? I typed back. Maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I did not matter. A few seconds later, my father chimed in. You are really going to let your parents become homeless? I actually laughed. The manipulation was so blatant, it was almost funny. They were not broke. They were not about to be tossed onto the streets. They just did not want to touch their savings because they were so used to me covering everything. I ignored them. That night, Daniel decided to pipe up. Dude, just send them the money already. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. I clenched my jaw. This entitled parasite really thought he could lecture me? I typed back. You mean the money you are inheriting? Why do you not send it? His response was instant. I do not have that kind of cash right now. Oh, so now affordability mattered? It was perfectly fine for me to drain my accounts. But the second it was his turn, suddenly, he had nothing to offer. Guess you better figure it out then, bro. No response. I went to bed feeling oddly at peace, like I had finally broken free from their control. But the next day, things escalated. I was at work when my phone rang. Hey, John. Your parents are here. I nearly dropped my phone. What? The receptionist hesitated. They said it is an emergency and that you're not answering their calls. Oh, my God. They actually showed up at my apartment because I stopped paying their bills. I took a deep breath, pinching the bridge of my nose. Please do not let them up. I'm not expecting them. An awkward pause. They're being kind of pushy. I gritted my teeth. I do not care. They can leave. I hung up and immediately got a text from my mother. We are downstairs. Open the door. No question. No explanation. Just another demand. I ignored it. Another text. John, we are not leaving until you talk to us. I exhaled sharply, standing from my desk. They were not going to back down. Fine. They want to talk. I was about to teach them a lesson they would not forget. I grabbed my keys and stormed downstairs, my blood boiling. I was not nervous. I was furious. The audacity of these people to show up at my home, uninvited, demanding money like I was still under their thumb. No phone call. No apology. Just a full-blown ambush. They really thought they could corner me into submission like I was still that naive kid eager to please. I yanked the door open, and there they were. Mom, Dad, and of course, Daniel, standing in a tight little formation like they were about to stage an intervention. Mom had her arms crossed, her classic, I am so disappointed in you look ready to go. Dad stood stiff, hands shoved in his pockets, looking equally annoyed and expectant, like he could not believe I was making him do this in person. And Daniel? The little leech actually looked bored, like this whole thing was just a minor inconvenience to him, like he was not the reason any of this was happening. The second Mom saw me. She launched into full dramatics. John, finally, we need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, my voice cool and unwavering. No, you need to leave. Mom blinked as if she couldn't quite grasp what I just said. Excuse me. You heard me. I stare them down. You're not going to show up here, uninvited, and demand money from me. That's insane. Dad scoffed sharply. Are you really going to let us lose the house over a petty grudge? I let out a bitter laugh. Petty grudge? Oh, you mean the one where I was the one paying your bills, but not even good enough to be in your will? That one. Mom gasped, clutching her chest like I'd physically struck her. John, that's not fair. You thought it was fair when you decided Daniel was worthy of everything, and I got nothing. I snapped, tilting my head. Just admit it. The room fell silent, the air thick with tension. Daniel, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. Look, man, I don't even want to be part of this, he mumbled. I turned to him, finally giving voice to the frustration I'd been holding back. No, you just sit there and take everything handed to you, Daniel. You're 28, for God's sake. Get a damn job. His face turned red. Dude, what the hell? He muttered, taking a step back. I took a step forward. You want to inherit the house? Start acting like a homeowner. Want to be the golden child? Then start paying their damn bills. Daniel looked away, avoiding eye contact as if that would make it go away. Mom tried again, recalibrating her usual guilt trip. John, he's your brother. I nodded. Yeah, and I've been supporting him longer than either of you have. Dad scowled, his voice low. You're being selfish. I laughed. It wasn't a joyful laugh, more like the sound of someone finally snapping. Oh, that's rich. You two decided Daniel deserved everything, and I get nothing. And now, when it's time to pay the price for that, you're trying to manipulate me into fixing it for you? Not happening. Mom's voice sharpened, as if she was trying to reclaim the moral high ground. We thought you'd be mature about this. I raised an eyebrow. Mature? You mean accept being betrayed quietly and keep paying your bills like I've been doing for years? That's what you wanted. Dad moved closer, standing over me the way he used to when I was a kid, trying to assert dominance. John, we raised you. We gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now. I stood firm, looking him straight in the eyes. I already did. For years. And you repaid me by cutting me out. Mom's lip quivered, and she tried to continue with her victim act. We thought you'd understand. I shook my head slowly. Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that I was never really family to you. Just a paycheck. The silence between us was thick, suffocating. Finally, I turned to Daniel, who was still trying to blend into the background. And you, what's your excuse? You had years to grow up, to get your life together, to contribute. But you didn't, did you? Because you knew they'd always take care of you. Daniel finally snapped, his tone defensive. What do you want me to say, man? I didn't ask for this. I nodded slowly. Right. You didn't ask. You just benefited. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. He had nothing to say. Mom, sensing her last chance slipping away, attempted one more guilt trip. John, we're family. Family takes care of each other. I stared at her for a long moment before responding, exactly. So why didn't you take care of me? She froze. No comeback. No words. Nothing. I let out a slow breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. We're done here. I turned and walked back inside, shutting the door behind me. Before I could even sit back down, my phone buzzed. A new message from Dad. Wow, after everything we've done for you, you're really going to abandon us. I smirked and typed back, no, you abandoned me. I'm just finally accepting it. I blocked their numbers, but I hadn't expected blocking them to make things worse. Less than a day later, I started seeing posts on Facebook. They weren't the most tech-savvy people, but they sure knew how to stir up drama online when it suited them. At first, I thought it was just my parents being dramatic. They always did that, airing out family business for the world to see. But as I scrolled through, it became clear. This wasn't just about me not helping with bills anymore. They had turned it into a narrative, subtly attacking me. Mom posted something about how she didn't raise her son to be so selfish, and how real family helps each other, no matter what. A few of her friends commented, calling me a disappointment, saying I was out of touch with what really mattered. Then Dad posted his own rant. So-called family should never turn their back when you need them most. We gave everything to our children, and this is how we're repaid. My son, who should be helping us in our golden years, has chosen to abandon us. He tagged me and added a passive-aggressive, I hope you're happy. And then Daniel got in on the act. I should have known he would. His post was a masterclass in self-serving nonsense. Some people think family is just about money, he wrote. They don't understand that family is about love and sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but some people just don't get that. They're too wrapped up in themselves to realize that true love is about helping those who raised you. Then, the real kicker. I wish some people could learn what it really means to be family. I love my parents, and I'm grateful for everything they've done. That was it. That was the moment I broke. I sat there, staring at the screen, disbelief turning to anger. How had it gotten to this point? They'd made me the villain, the selfish son who didn't appreciate everything they'd supposedly done for me. They had turned the tables, and now they were making me look like the bad guy. I couldn't just sit there and let them get away with it. I took a breath, sat back, and steel myself. I wasn't going to let them drag my name through the mud. I was going to tell the truth, no matter how much they tried to twist it. I opened my Facebook and posted a response. Here's what I wrote. I know I've kept quiet for a few days now, but I just can't stay silent any longer. My family has been posting a lot of things online about me, and most of it is completely false. They've painted me as the bad guy, the selfish son who won't help out when my parents need me. I'm here to clear things up. I've always been the one who stepped up for my family. From the moment I got my first job, I've been the one paying bills, buying groceries, and doing everything I could to help. But there comes a point where you can't just keep giving without any respect in return. Over the years, I've watched my parents put all their attention on Daniel, giving him everything, house, money, time, while I was left to do all the heavy lifting. And they expected me to keep giving without ever treating me as an equal. Some of you might be reading this and thinking, that's just how family works. Well, I'm here to tell you the truth. Family should be a two-way street. When I found out that everything in my parents' will was left to Daniel, I finally understood how one-sided this relationship had been. They didn't even consider me. Not for a second. They've always treated me like the person they can count on when things get tough, but never the one they really want around unless it's convenient. For years, I've been the one funding their lifestyle. I've paid for vacations, helped with bills, and even chipped in for house taxes. And for what? To be treated like I'm just a backup plan? I'm done with that. I'm not some walking ATM they can come to whenever they need money. I'm a human being, and I deserve to be treated with respect. I've earned a right to be treated like I matter, not just when they need something from me. As for Daniel, it's high time he grew up. He's 28 years old, and he has never worked a day in his life. He's never taken responsibility for anything. My parents have enabled him for so long that it's no wonder he's the one they favor. But here's the thing. He's had more than enough time to get his life together. Now it's time for him to stand on his own 2 feet. To everyone who's been following this and supporting my parents, you need to understand that there are always 2 sides to every story. Yes, family is important, but it's also about mutual respect. I've given enough for a lifetime, and I'm not sorry for finally stepping back. This isn't me abandoning family. This is me finally choosing myself. And to my parents, I wish you the best. But I am done being your doormat. I hit post, and immediately I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I was telling the world the truth about my family. How they'd taken advantage of me for years. How they always expected me to be the one to bail them out, without ever once thinking about what I needed. I wasn't going to let them control the narrative of my life any longer. The reactions came fast. People I hadn't spoken to in years started reaching out to support me. A few cousins, some friends of my parents, even distant relatives like my post, and sent me messages apologizing for what I'd been through. It felt amazing to finally have the truth out there, free from guilt trips and manipulation. But then came the backlash. My parents and Daniel went ballistic. Daniel sent me a message calling me a traitor. You had to air all our dirty laundry, didn't you? No respect for family. Dad called, yelling at me over the phone. You've ruined everything, John. You'll regret this. You'll regret cutting us off. You'll regret turning your back on your own family. But you know what? Not once did I regret it. Not even for a second. I blocked them all. I was done. And for the first time in my life, I was free. Free from their toxic hold. As the days passed, I could feel the burden lifting off my chest. I was done being treated like I was less than. I was done being the one everyone turned to when they needed something fixed. And now, for the first time, I could live my life on my own terms. So no, I don't feel guilty for cutting them off. I deserve better. I always have. From now on, I'm choosing to surround myself with people who appreciate me for who I am, not for what I can give them. It's time to move on for good. And I will. Let me know what you think in the comments.